Welcome to iHeart Cooking. I'm registered dietitian Jennifer Stachler.
And I'm Chef Dugan Wetzel.
We are brought to you by Reid Health Community Benefits, WCTV, and RPNL. Today on iHeart Cooking, we're going to be doing energy bites. So today on iHeart Cooking, we're going to be discussing energy bites. And it's kind of something different than we've done in the past with any of our episodes. We're kind of going a little bit sweet, or we are going sweet.
Yep.
So it's just easy snack ideas. So if you have that sweet tooth, it's something that you can make these. They last a while. You can freeze them. You can put in the fridge. But we have 3 different types of energy bites for you. We're going to do one that's a date bite, actually, and you never recognize there's going to be dates in it, but it's kind of a brownie bite, kind of date brownie bite. Another one we're going to do is a peanut butter and jelly energy bite, and then we're also going to be doing a pumpkin one. So we're going to actually start with the pumpkin one, because this one takes a little bit more extra time because we have to put it in the either refrigerator or freezer for a little bit to kind of incorporate things. But all 3 of these take very little time. You can do them, 30 minutes or less. They do have a lot of different ingredients in there, but basically we just mix them all together and you have a quick, easy, sweet energy bite.
Absolutely. It's like Jennifer just said, this is as easy as they get. First thing we're going to do, we've got a rolled oat here. We are just going to add this into our bowl.
Nice thing about rolled oats versus using those, instant 1-minute oats that you see on the shelf is that anytime they do more instant, it's something that has been processed more. So you're getting less of that fiber and more of the processing aspect to it,
Right.
where if you keep to the rolled oats, you're keeping more of the fiber, more of the content of the actual oat that's there.
Exactly. There's about 3 different kinds of oats out there. There's the minute oats, the rolled oats, steel cut oats are another one. Steel cut obviously has the most nutrients in it still.
Absolutely.
Because it's just chopped up and it's served. Rolled oats, they're just flattened. They take the outside shell off and flatten them. So it's just a little bit less. It's a little faster cook time. And then finally the minute oats, the quick oats. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something you probably don't want to use, even though that steel cut oat has the most nutrition. This is not a recipe you're going to want to use them in because they are very, very firm. They take a while to actually cook down to get soft to eat them. We're not cooking these, so that's something that we want to use those old-fashioned rolled oats just because you can eat them raw. You don't have to actually cook them.
Exactly, and it'll absorb some of this moisture.
Yep.
As we're running through here, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we added, we put some cinnamon, some pumpkin spice, which is very similar to cinnamon, just add a little bit of nutmeg to it. Just added some vanilla, some flax seeds. We're gonna add pumpkin puree to it.
And you want to make sure you get the 100% pumpkin puree that you find on the shelves. They do have some different types out there. You can make your own as well during, we're getting into October, November. If you get into that end of the year, you can take, those pumpkin pie pumpkins and make your own puree.
Certainly. A little bit of peanut butter. And you can use any type of peanut butter, actually. You don't even need to use peanut butter per se. You can use soy butter. And we'll talk a little bit more about soy butter in an upcoming recipe here.
Yep. And you can use almond butters, any nut butters that you have available could be working in replacement of the peanut butter, especially if you're looking at those food allergies of peanuts. Now, if you're looking at the nut tree allergies, which many people have, or many individuals would have, you're looking at that soy butter that Dugan kind of mentioned would be a great option.
Put in the peanut butter, a little bit of honey. You can use maple syrup too if you'd prefer that over honey. We're using just a little bit of dark chocolate chips, completely optional, up to you on that. But if you're going for sweetness, you've got honey, you've got the pumpkin, you've got the dark chocolate, the little bit of the vanilla. It's there's plenty of sweetness in here for you.
Absolutely. One nice thing I like about the honey, that is, I mean, the most natural kind of sugar you can find versus the granulated sugar. Sometimes if you have that maple syrup, you can use the natural maple syrup as well. You could use, if you're looking at, cutting calories, cutting carbohydrates, use a sugar-free maple syrup, which then you're going to be cutting some of that out. You get the sweetness, yet, but then you're using some artificial sweeteners in the product, which is safe to consume just as long as you're not over consuming on them. If you're just having them here and there, artificial sweeteners are perfectly safe to consume. But yeah, the honey's that, pure natural sugar that you can find.
And they last forever. That's the best part.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then the dark chocolate, you get more of the health aspect there as well. From the pumpkin, you're getting that orange color, that beta carotene, to help with, that carotenoids, the color, flavonoids, that color aspect there. So a lot of nutrition in this, even though it's a sweet bite.
Mm-hmm. You'll notice as you're mixing it, once the oatmeal starts to incorporate, it starts to firm up a little bit. Just a little tip, if it doesn't start to firm up, don't be afraid to add a little bit more oatmeal to it to kind of help bind that all together. Same thing, if it's too firm and you're seeing things aren't combining, you can add maybe a little bit more pumpkin, a little honey or something like that.
Absolutely.
Just a little more of your liquid ingredients to kind of help bind everything together. So I think we're pretty close here.
Absolutely. As you can see, just adding a lot of those ingredients, very quick and easy for this to be incorporated.
Absolutely.
It's a fun recipe to do with kids. I do this a lot with my daughter, make these, because she can, dump these all in. She can have fun just rolling these out into these bite size. So fun recipe you do as a family with your kids.
Certainly. Now these, since it does have the pumpkin, it does have the honey, they need time to actually solidify and firm up. So they go into the freezer for a half hour maybe. And then after that, you can just transfer it to the refrigerator, and that'll help slow down all the energy inside of them to allow them to stay firm for you.
And when you make these, afterwards, you would want to store them in the refrigerator for about up to a week. Anything after that, you'd probably want to keep them in the freezer for up to at least a month.
Just get one more here. Really simple. All I'm doing is just pinching a little off depending on how big you want them to be. I got a couple big ones here. These are like the 2 biters, and then you've got some smaller ones down here for if you're on the run, if you're on the go, you can just grab 2 or 3 of them and eat on their way. So do this real quick and we'll put it in the freezer. Okay.
So we'll place these in the freezer so they can kind of just incorporate together, and then we'll move on to the next one. So now that we have our pumpkin energy bites in the freezer getting firm, we're going to move on to our next one, which are PB&J energy bites. Peanut butter and jelly is what we're going after, so getting that same flavor. So what we're going to start off doing, you can see Dugan has apricots here. That's going to be our fruit part
compound,
of it, or
yes.
that jam or jelly you would add to it. The apricots, you can do strawberries, you could do blueberries, you could do raspberries, you could do about any dried fruit that you want.
Absolutely. We are going to use apricots in this recipe. Just going to dice them up real nice and fine. And then just like the last recipe, everything just gets mixed together. Very simple, very quick and easy. Nice to have on hand if you're starting to get hungry and it's not dinner time yet or something like that. You can just grab one out of the refrigerator and it's ready to go. So
absolutely. I mean, I have an hour drive into work, so it's not uncommon for me to make these types of energy bites, and that's what I eat on the way to breakfast, especially something like this.
Sure.
You have the oats that we're going to be adding in there for your grain. You have the dried fruits for your fruit. We're going to actually be adding dates here as well. And then you're going to add peanut butter for protein, or any kind of nut butter. I believe we're going to be using a sunflower butter in this recipe.
We're using sunflower butter, yes.
So you got still protein. So you got a fruit, you got a grain, you got your protein. So it makes actually a great breakfast option for anybody who needs something very quick and easy in the morning and you don't have time to prepare something.
Going to go ahead and add our oats here. We have some flaxseed meal. We used flax seeds on the other one. Now we're using the meal. A little bit of chia seed.
And we have used chia seeds a lot of times in our past episodes. We've had one that talked about omega-3 fatty acids, and we did all recipes associated with the chia seeds. Yep, great source of those good healthy fats.
And now we are adding our sun butter. If you look at it, it's got a nice creaminess to it. If you can get this in any local stores anymore, it's really nice. You'll sometimes see that the oil is separated from the butter itself. That's perfectly fine. Any natural peanut butter that you see on the shelves, they'll have that on there too. Yep. It's actually a very good indicator that you know that it is real, is fresh. So it's not bad if you see it separated. All you gotta do is take a spoon and mix it up. This sun butter, very easy to make too. All we do is take a food processor, get some sunflower seeds, put them in there, and just start to blend them up. Once it starts to develop a paste, you can add just a little bit of oil to it, kind of a flavorless oil, and just let it keep going until you reach that consistency you want, and it's done.
Absolutely.
It's very easy to do.
It's very quick. We have done it in past community cooking classes. We have actually made different types of nut butters, sun butters. Looking at, again, those peanut allergies and tree allergies, tree nut allergies that you see that to be more popular than what they used to be.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing a rise in them, and it's great. Like you said, you can find these easily on the shelves at most grocery stores. If you can't find the one you want, a lot of natural health food stores have it. I believe they now make it that some stores you can actually make your peanut butter in the store itself. So I believe, for instance, I shop at Kroger where I live, and they have where you can make peanut butter and you can make almond butter right there in the store. So very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to mince up some dates here. We're actually substituting them for syrup again. You're going to get that nice sweetness. And I like using dates because it's got that chew to it as well. It's got a nice texture that'll complement the energy ball.
Absolutely. And one nice thing is, I mean, like Dugan says, it has the sweetness there, but if you're using maple syrup or even like sugar-free maple syrup, you're cutting out a lot of, let's say, sugar, artificial sweeteners, sugar alcohols from that product, and you're going for a more natural product here, which is cutting out any kind of preservatives, cutting out any kind of sugar is always the win in the health department.
Absolutely. So we've got everything mixed together, or into our bowl, and now we're going to mix it together. Same, just like I said on the last energy bite, if it gets too dry, don't be afraid to add a little bit of moisture to it, a little bit more of the butter. You can add a little syrup, whatever you have on hand that's going to help bind these things together. That's okay. So if you want to add a little more butter in there, or peanut butter, the sun butter, yeah.
Yep, we're going to be using all kinds of peanut butters today, or nut butters, seed butters. Lots of different options when it comes to that peanut butter. And the fat content changes as well. So, I mean, you're thinking a lot of your nut butters, your seed butters, your peanut butters, great source of good fats, those mono and polyunsaturated fats. One kind of good tip I tell a lot of my patients is when you look at the reduced fat peanut butters or nut butters, you would think they take more of the bad fats out, leave the good fats in, but they don't. They're actually taking more of those good fats out, and those are the ones you want when you're consuming them. So I tell individuals, never kind of use that reduced fat, any kind of nut or peanut butters, just because you're missing out on all that great nutrition. You're better off just choosing the natural or the regular.
Absolutely. So we've got a nice consistency, a nice texture to it here. It's binding together really well. So we're just going to go ahead and start rolling them, putting them on a pan or a plate, and put them in the refrigerator to kind of help firm them up and combine everything. So.
like our first ones, the pumpkin ones, they had to go in the freezer for a while because they had a lot more density within them. These, you're only going to put them in the refrigerator for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Not very long at all, and then they're going to be ready to go. Just like the peanut butter ones, you could keep in the refrigerator for up to a week or put them in the freezer for about a month.
Absolutely. Yeah, the other ones had all the loose pumpkin, the honey, things that aren't are more liquid than anything, whereas this has a lot of dry ingredients, and then the sun butter, that's the only thing in here that binds it together. So these will hold their shape pretty well. It's just better to keep them in the refrigerator because it extends their shelf life.
Absolutely.
Okay, get this last one here. Go ahead and put it in the refrigerator. There we go.
Put them in the refrigerator, let them sit there for a few minutes before we try them. We have our PB&J Energy Bites in the fridge settling, so we are actually going to move on to our next one, which this one's a little bit different.
A little bit, yep.
Because we're doing a date brownie Energy Bites. So we got a little bit of that chocolate flavor in there. We're using the dates again, just like the previous recipe, to add some of that sweetness, but then we add peanut butter, we have almonds, cocoa flour, a little bit of vanilla extract, and we also have that flaxseed ground, or that ground flaxseed.
Absolutely. We're going to use a food processor for this one because you want to get these dates nice and creamy texture to them. A little bit smaller than a rough chop, and it kind of helps bind everything together. So all we're going to do is just add them into our food processor here. Going to add a little bit of almonds, about a half a cup.
So Dugan just added this unsalted almonds to this mixture so that something that they're baked, they don't have the sodium aspect to them. So make sure you do use the unsalted to drive down that sodium content, because these are sweet, you don't need that salty taste to them.
Absolutely. Next step we're going to do, we're actually going to turn it on for about a minute to kind of help bring everything together, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients to finish it off. Nice and combined. Smaller pieces, they look very consistent. So
again, it kind of looks like, you know, a couple episodes back we did that cauliflower snow. Kind of looks like that aspect too. That
Absolutely.
If you kind of see that in the camera there, it's kind of all broken up, so it's nice and incorporated there for you.
Certainly. So we're just going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. That may come off. There we go. Just a little bit of butter, peanut butter. Just a hint of vanilla. Give it that a little bit more of a sweetness. The flaxseed meal. And cocoa powder to give it that chocolate flavor.
Give that brownie consistency that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Okay.
We'll mix those all together and then we'll just form them. It's still not sticking together, so we're going to add a little bit more peanut butter in there, just like the previous Energy Bites we did. You really got to pay attention to that consistency to see if you can actually roll out one of those Energy Bites.
Right. Put a glove on. Okay.
And we'll mix those together, see if that's enough, and then we'll start rolling these out. So as you can see, when we start mixing that, it start rolling into that ball form. So that's something we can actually do a lot of that by hand too, if you want to, or you can let it go in the food processor a little bit longer and keep rolling. Am I going to lose it?
No. You're fine.
It's not getting the bottom.
You're good. It'll form.
Yep, so we're going to take this off. It's not in that ball consistency. We want to make sure we get the bottom of the food processor. Sometimes that blade will go over the top, so we're actually going to roll the rest out by hand. And these, they don't require to be in the refrigerator or the freezer. They're going to be ready, set to go right when you roll them out. But you would want to probably store them still like
Yes.
you would any
Yep.
of the other energy bites in the refrigerator for up to a week. You could put that freezer up to a month.
Yep, absolutely. These are actually probably going to roll a little easier than the others because there aren't very many large chunks of anything in there. Everything being in that processor is pretty much ground up, so it makes it very smooth, a nice shiny texture. It's consistent all the way through. So.
Absolutely. And you see it has that nice dark color like you would see for any kind of brownie mixture.
Absolutely.
It's a great alternative possibly to a brownie because you're not adding a lot of the extra sugars to there. The oils, we're eliminating a lot of them. So it's a healthier option if you want that brownie kind of taste. You're craving it maybe, you want that sweetness. This is a great alternative to give you that energy bite and a little bit more healthier for you as well.
Certainly.
So now we have all three complete. We took out the ones from the freezer and the refrigerator. So we have our pumpkin energy bites here. You can see definitely pumpkin color in there.
A lot of orange in there, absolutely.
Absolutely. It'd be a great option for fall. Kind of look at the different seasons possibly. We have our PB&J energy bites. So going off that peanut butter and jelly aspect, remember we use the apricots in here as more of that jam aspect, and these are the ones we use the sun butter in there with the sunflower. And then last but not least, we have our date brownie energy bites, where we have the dates in there for the sweetness. We have the cocoa, the vanilla for the kind of the brownie aspect if you want that extra sweet kind of flavor. So we're going to give these each a try, and we'll probably start with that first one over here with that energy bite with the pumpkin one. Definitely that nice orange color there, that beta carotene, great for vitamin A in here, and love that pumpkin flavor in there.
Right, that pumpkin spice is definitely full. Brings it out a lot. You can taste the nutmeg. It's very not overpowering, but subtle.
Absolutely, and you get that little different textures in there because you got the oats that add a little bit of texture. You add those
Got the chopped,
nuts.
yeah.
You got the
almonds. You got the walnuts.
and
the sweetness of the
chocolate chips.
yeah.
I could not think of what they were. Those dark chocolate chips in there as well. So nice little texture difference
Absolutely.
throughout all that. And then we also have then our PB&J ones. Different texture there. These are a little bit more creamy. These fall apart a little bit more.
Like we were saying, that's why you want to freeze these first ones, the pumpkin ones, because there is a lot more liquid ingredients in it. So it's going to take a little bit more time for it to firm up and solidify. Whereas these PB&J ones, they just have the sun butter, and then everything else is oats, it has the dates, it's got all these dry ingredients that you're just binding together with one thing, and that's the sun butter.
Not as much of the creaminess because of the difference there.
Absolutely.
And then we have these brownie date bites, which if you like brownies, these are a good choice to use as well.
They really are. You get the
Nice and sweet.
the cocoa flavor. Being processed, there's not a huge difference in between the bites. There's nothing in there that's more crunchy or anything like that. It's
Smooth.
very consistent all the way through.
It is very good. 3 great energy bites to try, all different types of seasons possibly, different food allergies if you're looking at the tree nuts versus the peanuts, different butters you can use. Quick, simple snacks, last up to a week again in the fridge, up to a month in the freezer. Great alternatives to those. I mean, these are great alternatives to any kind of candy bar, granola bars. Great substitute there.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning into iHeart Cooking. We hope you enjoyed all the recipes that we shared today when we discussed all those different energy bites.
For more recipes like today's episode, you can visit reidhealth.org/iHeartCooking.
We'll see you next month.